Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Great to see everyone again. Listen, very exciting time for Rebel New York. It's a time that's needed, and we could all celebrate. I had a chance to and an honor to play against this gentleman next to me. A few battles on the field from young warriors, young men, young professionals, and here we are today as leaders of an organization. Um, had a lot to learn, obviously, about Michael as a opponent for national teams, and then him being able to represent an MLS club as a player and change the culture in a country like Canada, where I'm from, and to watch that with my own two eyes and see how it makes sense to sign a DP defensive midfielder. I mean, I was a defensive midfielder for the TFC team, and I was a DP as well. But he certainly brought it to another level that made a lot of sense for not just TFC but also the league itself. In 2017, December 9th, I had a chance to watch him live at BMO Field to lift the trophy as a captain for TFC. And that club certainly needed success. They needed a leader, but it didn't just represent Toronto, it represented the country. And that's something he's been able to do not just for Canada, but also for the US. As a captain who had over 150 caps for his nation, but also as a professional who had the chance to play abroad in the top leagues in the world, in the Prem, Serie A, in the Bundesliga as well, and being able to learn different cultures at a very high pressure, learn different languages as well. But it really molded him to be an incredible leader, not just on the field, but off the field. Being able to complete his career as a player in the MLS and then jumping right into it under his father, who's a legendary coach for the US, and being able to learn from one of the greatest coaches to come out of America. You couldn't ask for a better way to transition as a young professional into coaching. He remains ambitious, and he's certainly one of the hardest working individuals I've seen with my own two eyes at the Rebel training facility, and that really moved me and impressed me more than anything else. So today, we get to announce and celebrate a fine young American, I think, who will set the example for many more to come in the future of this country when it comes to soccer. Our new head coach for the Rebel New York team. Well, congratulations, Michael, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Julian. I would just like to take the opportunity to thank Red Bull, a few important people inside Red Bull, Oliver Mintzlaff, Jurgen Klopp, Mario Gomez, at Red Bull New York, Marc de Grandpré, Julian de Guzman, and even though he's not with us officially at this point, Jochen Schneider. Jochen played a big part in bringing me into the club 6 months ago. So thank you to all of you guys. This is an incredible opportunity. One that I could not be more excited for. Red Bull as an organization, I think it's very, very clear what the company stands for. Daring, innovative, on the cutting edge, always pushing the boundaries. I think Red Bull football has been there for everybody in the world to see. The players, the coaches, the teams, and to have my opportunity to be a part of this organization, to be a part of this club, again, is something that I don't take it lightly. When we think about Red Bull New York, the it's a really exciting time for the club. Julian and I have talked with all of you guys in different moments over the last 6 months about what Red Bull football, what Red Bull New York is going to be going forward, and to be trusted as the person to lead this club going forward. It's a huge honor, and it is something that I am going to commit my absolute life to make sure that we are able to put a team on the field that our fans are proud of, to represent our club, this community in a way where everybody who comes into this stadium feels a part of. And as I said, it's something that I could not be more excited for. So thank you, Julian. Thank you to everybody at Red Bull, and I can't wait to get started.
We will now take questions. Before you ask your question, please state your name and publication. Please raise your hand and I'll call you to ask a question. First thing I saw was Joe. Joe, you have the floor.
Joe Pantorno, AM New York. Michael, welcome. This is your first top flight full-time professional gig. Why was the time right for you now, and what kind of imprint are you looking to leave on this organization?
There are a lot of things that you can control in life and in football. One thing that you can never control is timing. You can't control when certain opportunities come, when certain people call, and so when this opportunity came, when the chance to take the step and now lead the first team was put in front of me, it was something that when I came to the club 6 months ago, it was in the back of my mind for sure. It was something that I hoped to, with time, earn, work for. I didn't think it was something that was going to come necessarily this quickly. But when the season ended, when Julian and I were able to speak, when I was able to, have discussions with Jurgen and Mario and just understand even more what this club wants to be going forward. How in the world could you say no? It was something that, it's like anything in life. You could ask yourself a million questions. Is it the right time? Am I ready? What about this? What about that? But certain things come and you got to go for it. And so this one took me like a half a second to basically realize we're going for this one.
Next, go to Mark.
Hey, Michael, Mark Fishkin, Seeing Red. Congratulations. It was 8 weeks ago, I think, that we were here celebrating with you the end of the MLS Next Pro Championship. You talked about how much enthusiasm you had for coaching the young players. This is a different type of assignment. You've got a number of lead players on this team that you are contemporaries of. Talk to us about leading those players, and talk to us a little bit about the kind of tactical lineup that you guys hope to put out on the field. Thanks.
Yeah, look, Red Bull is known for giving young players opportunities. And, when you look around the world at any of our teams, when you look at average age, when you look at the types of players and profiles that we look for, that is a big part of the fabric of Red Bull football. And we're going to have a young team. We're going to be going forward. We're going to have talented young players that we aren't afraid when the time is right to push them and to throw them into it and really challenge them to take the next step. But as you build a team, you have to find the right ways to balance that with the right experience, the right leaders, the right, the right people around them to make sure that we are putting not only in the individual players, but our team in the best possible place to succeed. And so, look, the experiences that I have in the game, the places I've played, the different players that I've played with, different coaches that I've played for, it still means that I can find ways to connect with every single guy in that locker room, whether it's the oldest guy or the youngest one. And so for me, that will be, when you talk about creating an environment, when you talk about building a team, that part of the relationships that you make, the ways that you connect with the players, the ways that you speak with them, the ways that you engage them, that part is as important as anything else. And we are going to get to work on day one building a team that can play football, a team that plays with intensity, a team that goes after the opponent when every single time we step on the field. The foundations of Red Bull football that have always been there in terms of pressing and intensity and making a game that's fast, trying to put the game on our terms in every moment. That's what we're gonna do. But we're also gonna try to combine that with really good ideas when we have the ball. And I believe strongly that the game is connected in every way. And I don't believe in separating the game into 100 different parts. I think the better and more aggressively you press, the more you have the ball. And the better that you can be with the ball, the more passes you can connect, the more ideas, the more ways you have to create chances, the better you'll counter press and the more aggressive you can be against the ball. And so we are going to, from day one, set out to create an environment, to create training that challenges the players, that brings out the best in them, that develops them individually, and to create a team that when we step on the field, people watching, our fans, they watch, they look, and they see a team that is different. They see a team that when they leave the stadium, they want to come back to watch next week. So that's what we're going to get to work on. And obviously it's easy to sit up here and talk about it on January 5th, but that's the fun part now of taking the ideas that we have in our heads and bringing it to life.
Next, go to Michael.
Coach, Michael Batista, New York Sports Nation. You kind of touched on your quick rise from, MLS Next Pro coach to first team head coach here. Could you talk about during your long playing career, you had a very cerebral playing style. You were like a coach on the field, especially in Toronto. Do you think that's something that prepares you, for this role, especially with, only having half a season as a head coach under your belt? Is that something that you think really prepares you for this?
Yeah, absolutely. I was never a player that could step on a field and, regardless of how my teammates played or how the team performed, scored 2 goals and win the team the game. That was never gonna be me. And so, from a young age, I knew that to be at my best, I needed to make sure that everybody around me was at their best, that the team was functioning in the best possible way. And so, yeah, when you grow up in and around the game, when you when you have roles in teams that challenge you to think about others, that challenge you to be a leader, that challenge you to think about more than just yourself, then yeah, the part of when you get the opportunity moving into coaching, how you put that part together, how you connect the dots in those ways, how you engage a group, how you take the ideas that you have in your head and try to instill them in a group of players and in a team. That part is those thought processes have been going on for a lot of years, and obviously now I get the opportunity to run with it and to really now be the one to decide every single day, what are we doing in training, how are we putting this together, who's playing on the weekend. Yeah, those things are new, but the other parts, no, I've been doing that for a while.
Next, we go to Anthony.
Hey guys, Anthony Merced with AGM Sports FC. I just want to ask you guys, but this is a question for both of you. You're both uniquely qualified to talk about the, let's say, uniqueness of MLS, whereas previous heads of sports and coaches have had to learn along the way. What kind of advantages do you guys think that brings to you, knowing already both as players and now as coaches and in admin? What advantages does that bring to you guys, having already known the league beforehand?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start off by saying, just having the experiences and pleasures to start from North America and transition to Europe and have a career of that, and then coming back here. I mean, that certainly, it creates a strong knowledge as to how quick evolving this league is going. And I mean, we remember MLS from when it first started to where it's at today. And I mean, it's almost night and day. Now we're talking about one of the top leagues in the world. And it continues to become one of the fastest growing leagues in the world. So, I mean, seeing that, but then knowing the nuances of being in the MLS and the travel, time change, different surfaces, league rules, all those fun things. I mean, those are things that we're prepared to manage, and it's part of our culture. It's part of who we are. So I think that's a huge advantage for us as former players, for sure. Being able to work in the league now, it certainly has another layer to it that not many people would probably understand if you're not from this part of the world. And yeah, you certainly see some of those hurdles and barriers that it takes to grow and understand this culture. But that was part of one of the processes of identifying a new coach for Red Bull, somebody who knew the league, who's been a part of it. And certainly, Michael has proven that not just as a player, but as a coach, just with the Next Pro team and the success he's been shown in such a short term. Clearly explains one of his strong attributes as a calm leader that's able to just do what he's able to do best and continue to develop as well. So, yes, we've been part of both worlds in North America and Europe, but we continue to do our best to bring it at a very, very high level, and that's something we're going to continue to push together for this group.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. I mean, I think one of the really unique, something that makes Red Bull unique and special is that with the European influence that the company has, that our club then has, how are we able to balance the part of how do we find the best of both worlds? You touched on it. There's a part to MLS and in football in North America that is different. The landscape is different. The infrastructure, the some of the challenges are unique. but at the same time, how can we embrace that? How do we understand every single day how to live that? But how can we also keep in the back of our minds the part of European standards, European professionalism, the part where, we how can we take what we're doing every day and bring it closer to some of the best leagues and best clubs in the world? And so I think that is, we have a special balance to find here, even if we compare ourselves to other clubs in this league, where the experiences that we've had, both in MLS and abroad in Europe, allow us to try to find the right blend of those things every single day.
Next, go to Party.
Hi, Party Katri, CBS Sports. It's a bit of the same question for both of you. Michael, you talked a little bit about how important it was the process when you initially joined the club 6 months ago. So I would love to know a little bit more about that. And sorry, for Julian, what went into the process to, promote Michael to the senior team? What did you see with his 6 months with the MLS Next Pro team that really wanted you to, hire him for this role?
We had this idea. I think for such a long time we've seen Red Bull as an organization that develops players, and there's been a lot of success through that. We've seen the history of Jesse Marsh, for instance, having a successful role as a head coach here, and then he takes off to the bigger leagues with the support of Red Bull. But I think that's happened a long time ago, right? And how do you take advantage of an opportunity when an individual like Michael doesn't come around very often? For him to be available and ready and hungry for an opportunity like this, it wasn't a challenge by pulling him by both limbs and say, hey, we got to sell you a product here. This is great. No, it's something he wants, and it matched our identity as well. We could have talked to him about coaching the U17 teams in the get-go, and he would have done it, right? At the end of the day, he just wants to coach, and he wants to be a successful coach, just like he was as a player. The opening, it was perfect timing to introduce him to the Next Pro team. There was a lot of work that we had to do to make sure that was a safe place for any coach to land. Ibra has done a phenomenal job at managing the group from the time I came here till the time he made this jump to the first team. There's a time where he was just training with 10 players on a Tuesday, right? And then a year and a half later, he's got a full squad of 24 guys to choose from every day, and it makes his work harder. But that is what a coach needs to develop. They need a real environment to develop as a top coach. Michael comes in, and you see what he's able to do. He's young, he's hungry, he's fresh, he's ready to go. So those are the simple things that get you started to say, yeah, this is the right person. And then when you meet him, when you see him work on a day-to-day basis, and I'll give you a perfect example. There's days where I show up 7:45 in the morning to the office, but he's already there, and you think, okay, maybe this just is a one-off, but it's every day he's there. First one there in the room, preparing the sessions, just going through his video, going through the notes, and you watch that, you said, okay, this is a real dude. This is a real individual that's serious about his work. And then I will leave the office around 7 o'clock at night, and then he's the one doing box-to-box runs. At first, I thought it was one of our players, but you realize this guy is here to win, and this is not just a one-off. This is happening on the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the Thursday, and then everyone feeds off of that, from players, from staff, and that creates the culture. And this is the person you want every day in your building, and it makes you enjoy and love your job. And to see him do that every day, and the results speak for itself here at Sports Illustrated Stadium, November 8th, lifting up a trophy. You're like, okay, this is the right person. So he is certainly a a unique individual. This is somebody you won't see every day. This is somebody, the type of person he is what we need in this organization as a leader, to develop not just these young kids that aspire to be pro one day, just like he was, but also everyone around him. He creates an incredible environment, brings top energy, and he's a super professional. And that's something that reflects what Red Bull's all about. And it was a no-brainer to bring him in right away. And if it was 6 months later, he's going to be a first-team coach, great. If it was a year later, okay. But the time was right because of just who he is as a human being and as a professional.
From my standpoint, the opportunity to come to Red Bull was also a no-brainer. It was about a year ago this time, 13, 14 months ago, where, when I finished playing, I went to Norway. I was an assistant coach at Stabæk for my dad. And that was a really, really important year for me in terms of, closing the chapter of playing and transitioning straight into the coaching. And that was an incredible experience in every way. And when things finished there at the end of 2024, I was trying to figure out what the next step would be. I spoke with Mario Gomez at some point in November, and it was not long after Jurgen Klopp had come on as global head of soccer, and Mario and I kind of agreed that we would circle back around at the beginning of the year and see what if there were any possibilities. And obviously this is still home for me, and so we have a house in the area. We got back around Christmas time, and early in the year, Jochen and Julian were kind enough to invite me over to the training facility, and we spoke once or twice. That then led to a meeting with Jurgen and Mario and Joltlov and Pete Kravitz when they came through New York in February of last year, as they were kind of giving Jurgen his initial tour of the different clubs. And over the next few months, there was a lot of positive, a lot of really good conversations. Jochen and Julian gave me the opportunity then to spend a month in Europe in the spring. I spent a few weeks in Salzburg, was able to spend a lot of really close time with the people at FC Liefering. I spent then a week in Munich at Red Bull global offices. And when I got back, that was around the time when Jochen and Julian were trying to figure out, how a few things were going to play out inside the club. And we met for coffee one day, and they said to me that there would be the opportunity to coach the next pro team. And yeah, I literally said, when do I get to start? I as a young coach, I was so excited for the next step in my career. You guys have heard me say this in different ways. I love the game. I'm proud of what I've done. I'm proud of the career that I had as a player, but there is a big part of me that wants more, and I want to have the best possible career as a coach that I can. I love being on a field every day. I love the part of being inside a team, of trying to take a group of people and see if we can do something special. The part of connecting with people, the part of when the lights come on the weekend, trying to compete and trying to play in a way that people can be proud of. And so, the chance for me as a young coach to work inside Red Bull, as I said before, the teams, the players, the coaches, they speak for themselves. And so when the opportunity was given to me, it was something that I could not have been more excited for.
Next, we go to George.
George from the Exchange FC. I have a question for the both of you. Mike, you just came from a team that won the championship. Now you're going to a team that didn't make the playoffs. So what's your mindset like, or what could you say for the fans to kind of put them at ease for what's about to happen? And Julian, have we addressed the goalie situation yet?
Not yet. No, we're not there yet. We're fairly close, and I think we have a really good idea as to this fit, and certainly we need to button that up quite soon. Preseason's around the corner, but we're fairly close.
We're gonna get to work. The part of trying to build a team that represents this club and this community in the best possible way. Obviously, this club has had a long tradition of making the playoffs, and when there's a season where that falls short of expectation, with that there's a lot of emotion, anger, frustration, disappointment. But I can promise everybody that there isn't one person on the inside of the club or on the inside of the organization that is happy or satisfied with where things are. We've spent every minute since the season ended trying to work and trying to organize and trying to put together a team now that can step on the field next year and play and compete in the best possible way. And so I know the history of this club. I know that there was a long tradition and a long streak of making the playoffs. I also know that in that streak of making the playoffs, there was heartbreak and disappointment in the playoffs. And that is when we think about the football that we want, when we think about the team that we want to build, it's not just with the idea of how can we scrape back into the playoffs. Yes, the playoffs is the first goal. We know that. But it is still with the idea of how we can put a team on the field that can compete and play football week in and week out, that when people come into the stadium, they're proud of, they're excited about, and that with the right work and with the right time, we have a group of players and a team that can really do something. And so that's what drives every single one of us every day. That is what has consumed me for the last bunch of weeks, and I will wake up and go to bed thinking about every single day for as long as I'm here. And I couldn't be more excited by the challenge.
Everyone, we have time for 2 more questions with Coach and Julian. We'll first go to Christian Arnold, and then we'll finish up with Gary. Christian, you have the floor.
Christian Arnold with the New York Post. Kind of on a similar vein to George's question there. Julian, I'm just curious in sort of executing that vision, the shared vision the two of you have for this club. What was maybe sort of the thought process behind letting certain players like Sean Nealis go, Lewis Morgan go, bringing in someone like K. Cole? What was kind of the how does that kind of fit into what you guys envision this club looking like? And Michael, I'm kind of curious as well, what has been your role in sort of the roster development since you've taken over the job? What have you kind of expressed to Julian in the terms of the player that you want to see for the club going forward?
Yeah, you look at the season that we had. I mean, obviously disappointing, and wasn't the most memorable one for any fan of Red Bull. You know, credit to Sean, Lewis, Peter. I mean, these guys have been exceptional individuals, professionals, and when you look at the type of football that we will play going into the era of Michael Bradley and the future of New York Red Bulls, we need change. It's as simple as that. And Sean was for me a great individual, great human being, professional. He's done an incredible amount of stuff here at Red Bull, had success as well. For him to move on, it was the right time. Lewis Morgan as well. I mean, it was unfortunate last season with the injuries. A breath of fresh air probably makes the most sense for him. And, that's a player with lots of quality and still has a lot of years of football in him. Peter Stroud, again, a young Red Bull, a homegrown player coming from the academy, right? And that's a success story for us when we have these players coming through the academy getting their first professional contracts at Red Bull, and we get to celebrate that. He's had a lot of football here as well, but he deserves a chance somewhere where he's going to continue to enjoy his football and develop as a young player. So I've always told those players it won't be the last stop here at Red Bull, or the last time they're here at Red Bull, sorry. But there's always a chance they could maybe have the career like a Tim Parker, who had success here and is able to come back and finish his career hopefully at Red Bull as one of the top leaders here. So, but it's important that we start to, go young and fresh and bring in some top energy. Cade Caldwell for me is a great example as to the direction we want to go. And you see a player like him and what he's been able to do in his early career at San Jose, go to a top club like Chivas in Liga MX, and he wants to play football, but he also fits the identity that we have here at Red Bull. And this is the type of guys that we want to start to continue to invest in, but also open up the doors for the Audrey Mehmetis of the world, Ronald Donkor. I mean, these are young guys that need a chance to play, need minutes. Victor Bogac as well. I think these are players that need to start showing themselves and the potential and qualities that they deserve, and they will get chances. But the most important thing is making sure we are able to build this team that suits and fits the ideas that we have. Michael's been able to show it with the Next Pro team and how exciting that football's been. And these are the type of players that we want to continue to introduce into this environment here at Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean, look, one of the big advantages that we've had in this last period is there's been no transition period. As soon as things finished with the second team, we were straight to work in terms of now trying to put the pieces together for next season, trying to identify, players, talk about the way that we want to put all this together. And obviously Julian and his team do a phenomenal job behind the scenes in terms of scouting, in terms of identifying targets and really laying things out in a clear way. And then the conversations that we've all been able to have about how things fit, about different directions that we want to go, that part has been nonstop. And so, obviously, you've seen some of the things that we have been able to do in terms of players moving out, some players moving in, and I think we all feel good about that part. In terms of the direction of the team and how that influences then players that we are looking for, as Julian said, we're gonna have a team that's younger for sure, and in that we, especially in certain spots, feel like we need to be faster, more dynamic, in some cases more athleticism, but then how do we combine that with players that also have football qualities that can, with their skill, with their quality, with their intelligence, understand how to play, how to move, how to find spaces. And so the part of how that all gets blended together, that's the part that's going to get worked on every single day.
And we'll finish up with Gary.
Gentlemen, Gary Redmond, AJM Sports FC. My question is for basically the both of you. For you, Michael, this is my third time congratulating you.
Thank you.
Hopefully that the trend continues. But my question is this. Have you spoken to individually or personally with any of the players about what you plan to do with this team going forward and beyond? Hopefully you've been able to get to the same page or what eventually you like to mold this team into a team that you said that the fans would be proud of. And for you, Julian, if you could answer this question, if you can, when one looks at the roster, it looks a little bit incomplete at the moment, but there's an expectations with the fan base. The fan base is yet to see a championship, an MLS Cup championship of any kind for the last 3 decades and counting. With that, of course, with Michael Bradley being chapter 1, of course, of the era that's coming with us. What do you say to the fans who, want to see this as a step going forward rather than step going backward?
A great question, and I completely feel the fans' frustration for sure. And coming into this role last in 2024, the potential Rebel always has, and we talk about it over and over again, right? We have so many things here that competes with the top clubs in Europe. I mean, wonderful stadium, the facilities that we're building. I mean, we get it all, right? But we need to show why we deserve these things. And winning a championship for sure. Michael and I are here. We're talking about trophies all the time and how to build it and how to win it and how to get there. And it takes the right decisions. It takes the right culture, identity. Also, the right connection with the fans. I think it's important that we need to continue to respect the people that are coming out to these games wanting to see a winning team, right? A huge part of our culture is obviously being young, and that's going to remain this, as is. We want to be fun. We want to be playing attractive football. And like Michael said, we don't want to just scrape our way into the playoffs and then call it a day, So that's not our standard. And I never came into this position thinking that I will settle for that. Michael himself, I mean, you talk to this guy on any given basis, you're sensing titles. And I think we're sorry, I'll rephrase that. I know we are on the right track. Appointing him and bringing him as a head coach, as a leader for the first team, for me, that's a massive check mark. Now we got the right people involved, the right decision makers. We're all aligned. I think this is probably the most connected Rebel has ever been since the history of the organization. When you talk about the academy, the second team, and the first team, and that's a huge credit to Jochen Schneider coming in and really laying out the pillars and restructuring that needed to be solved first and foremost, and it definitely took time. Now we could work properly. We could enjoy everyone's presence. And when you show up to work and you're starting to make smart decisions, and you're going to make smart signings, and making smart signings should lead to building a championship team, right? Our goal is we want to win. We come here to win. And listen, we put our families through a lot. And we need to go home and tell our families, listen, it was worth doing it, believe me. So we're not here to waste your times. And we certainly are on the same page, and we see eye to eye from over here to any fan that comes out to Sports Illustrated Stadium, that's following this team, we're here to win, and that's definitely on our minds. And the other celebration that we want to continue to do is making sure we identify the right individuals, the right talents, develop these players, and send them off into environments they deserve to be in. We are an organization as well to create opportunities for players, for staff, and I think that's, for me, one of the most beautiful things about this organization. And I've never seen in my 30 years involved in this career is seeing the connection and the support any individual gets here at Red Bull. So that's another thing that we want to continue to push here. But to your question, yes, we want to win.
Yeah, lot of different conversations, in this last period, there have been a lot of players around the facility still. Some working, some rehabbing. Other players that have gone home. I've touched base with them on the phone. So yeah, I mean, look, one of the advantages is also that a lot of I have relationships already with a lot of these guys. A good number of them were at one point or another in second team training. The ones who weren't, whether it's having a coffee together or passing by in the facility. So the starting points of relationships of knowing how to connect with guys, that part is there in a lot of cases. Obviously, spent the last few weeks, in some cases speaking in more depth with guys and trying to make sure that they understand where we are with things, how excited I am, what we're, some of the different ways we're going to work when they get back. This week, we have a lot of guys around the facility again, and that continues. And so, yeah, I mean, the part of building a team, the part of creating relationships, that part never stops. And so, I feel good about the starting points, and we keep going every single day.